Welcome back to the Bulwark. I'm Sam Stein, managing editor of the site, here with Marc Caputo, our author of MAGAville, everything that's under the sun in Trump world. We're recording this after Donald Trump spoke at the nabj, which is the gathering of Black journalists from across the country in Chicago. He did an interview, on-stage interview, for about 30 minutes. The reason I bring this up, and I encourage you, if you're interested in what happened, to go watch it or go watch Tim Miller's response to it on YouTube. But the reason I bring this up is that for the first time in a long time, today it felt like a 2016 or 2020 campaign. Trump saying crazy things at a public forum, insulting Black journalists, making racially insensitive remarks, suggesting birther or race conspiracies around his opponent, all very vintage Trump of 2016, 2020. The reason I bring this up is because Marc has a piece that even makes me think more of the echoes of 2016 and 2020. And his piece involves sort of a central figure over the past 8 years in Trump land, Kellyanne Conway. Marc, tell us about your piece and why it has those echoes of campaign past.
Yeah, just days after Trump had picked Vance and Vance hit a lot of turbulence, these reports started to surface about Trump allies and were questioning the wisdom of the Vance pick by Trump. And you assigned me like, hey, check it out. Is this true? Right? which is fine. And so I checked it out, which is true. And what blew me away when I came back to you was, hey, look, of course they're all denying it, but like without me prompting, like a dozen people, it might have been 8 at the time, right? I just kind of blanketed. Each person without me prompting, without me asking of their own volition in a court or whatever, said, yeah, this isn't true. We're not turning our back on JD Vance or double guessing it, but it's Kellyanne Conway spreading this for whatever reason. And the fact that so many people said it, I think, and we think, and it does make it a story. Out of ultimately about 20 people I talked to, about a dozen, a little more than a dozen actually, all adhered to this belief. There were various stories of her allegedly doing this. And so
now let's stop for 1 second, because there might be some people out here who have no idea who Kellyanne Conway is.
Yeah.
Who is Kellyanne Conway?
Kellyanne Conway is the very smart, tactically brilliant, but perhaps strategic leaker in Trump's orbit, who has been there almost since the get-go, top advisor. She's a frequent figure on Fox. She's a pollster. And she has had a tendency to really get in some squabbles with people or, be the suspect of lots of leaks. And once again, we're sort of back at it.
Yeah. How does someone who has the reputation that you described stay in a cadre of advisors, a universe that is sort of semi-infamous for jettisoning people, kicking people off its island? Let's put it that way.
I would say 2 things. Number one, she is without a doubt very smart, and she's great at presenting an argument, and she's good on TV. Very important for Trump. Number 2, Trump likes teams of rivals, or as Cliff Sims, a former Trump World White House guy, had written in a tell-all book, he likes a team of vipers. And in fact, in Cliff's book, he features Kellyanne Conway as one of those leakers. She denies it, incidentally. She denies she's the leaker in all of this. But that helps to explain it.
She denies that she's doing any sort of back channeling or leaking around the Vance pick, right?
Yeah, she's like, and she's saying, look, not only is it not me, but I am getting calls from people. Like, she acknowledges that these calls are happening and that she's on them, but she's saying she's not instigating them. She's telling people, hey, you need to stick with Vance, but it's the people out there in Trump world, donors, advisors, and the like, who are the ones coming to her with these concerns about the Vance pick and the rollout. The thing is a lot of people don't believe her.
What are the concerns?
Well, the concerns is that he might not have been ready for prime time and that the campaign's rollout has been rather rocky and they've just been swamped by events.
Why would she be suspected leaker?
She backed Marco Rubio, publicly at least, and to a lesser degree, Doug Burgum. So she wanted other people. That clearly is a top reason for suspecting. The other thing is people there in Trump's broader orbit, and from what we understand through sources and a confidant of Don Trump Jr., is they just say, look, this is the sort of stuff she does. And this is sort of a flex by her. Again, she denies it.
All right. So let's get to the sort of larger point here, which is this has not, despite all the sort of reputation and some mythology around the Trump operation that it's a team of vipers, a team of leakers, a team of backstabbers, a lot of squabbling. The 2024 campaign has not been that, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, true. And it's still not that. She's technically, well, she's not in the campaign.
She's not in the campaign. Well, how has the 2024 campaign been able to avoid that?
You've had Susie Wiles, Chris LaCivita as the campaign co-managers, and neither of them actually have the title. So one way is like no one actually says, hey, I'm the manager, therefore no one can get fired or targeted. And Tony Fabrizio, sort of the top pollster of the operation who introduced the two of them. They're both friends of his. And they've just worked together and made sure they have sort of a drama-free team that's been very mission-oriented. So far, it's worked. The thing is the new guard, the sort of Wiles and LaCivita faction, has run up against some resistance in the old guard. And we saw that the other day with this Project 2025 blueprint in waiting for Trump, which is a bunch of Trump world ex-officials, advisors, friends are in these various conservative groups who've put together this blueprint. And the thing is, for Trump in the campaign, the blueprint's problematic because it has a lot of unpopular stuff. So he's trying to distance himself from it. And Wiles and LaCivita have just kind of repeatedly kind of shot down any notion that this represents Trump's thinking. And that's caused tensions between those outside groups, those outside people who are Trump people, and the inside the campaign people.
Yeah, I think people should understand the Project 2025 is not just a policy viewpoint or 900-page policy prescription. It's plans for staffing and administration. And the people who've put together all this stuff aren't like insignificant backbenchers in the Trump orbit. They are significant people who've been involved in Trump's first administration and are angling to be involved in the second administration. And what's happening is you have the power center at the campaign basically saying, pound sand, screw you, you suck. And these people are like, wait a second, we just have been spending months trying to do all this, and we also want a piece of the pie if he wins.
Right. I think there's a few things. Number one is the sort of the power struggle in Trump world, propinquity to power, or the principle is power, right? The closer you are to Trump, the more power you have. Secondly, became a millstone for Donald Trump. I mean, it talks about like an abortion ban and limiting more access to the abortion pill or whatever the word is for it now, mifepristone. And that's stuff that Trump has backed away from. So it's given Democrats the opportunity to say, look, this is Trump's plan. Trump says it's not. Now the thing is, I wouldn't say killed, but they've pretty much made it clear that they've washed their hands of the matter. Yeah, and then lastly is the issue of Project 2025, Heritage Action, the American First Priorities Institute, these various groups that are involved in it. They're fundraising. They're doing stuff with this. And in Trump's mind, when you are raising money in his name, and you're not giving a piece of the action, that's a great way to piss the guy off.
All right, so let's wrap this in a bow. We have two sort of subterranean fault lines that are becoming more exposed. One is around the JD Vance pick and whether or not people like Kellyanne Conway are trashing it or raising doubts about it or sort of retrospectively second-guessing it. The second is around Project 2025, in which you have old guard versus new guard. The new guard being LaCivita and Wiles basically saying this is nothing to do with us, and the old guard being like, hey, this is everything to do with you. Okay. This portends what exactly? I mean, is this just sort of casual sniping that we should expect in anything that Trump touches? Or is this a sign of frictions that could become problematic?
Well, it's a sign that the Trump campaign, which weathered a multi-candidate primary, weathered the candidate being hauled into civil court and criminal court, convicted even in one case, an assassination attempt, out of all of those things, like it shows at this moment in time, Donald Trump's campaign is facing its toughest test yet. And this is how campaigns show that they're nervous and that they're losing, as people start finger pointing, they start accusing, they start suggesting that the other one's a backstabber or a leaker or whatever.
Which brings me back to NABJ. Not that that's a tension point or friction, but it's, to me, a signal of a candidate who went into something that he probably didn't realize was going to be, or maybe he did, a circus for him. And this has a sort of improvisational feel to it in a way that I didn't quite get the vibes from in prior Trump campaign operations to this point.
I think it's probably accurate, albeit Trump is serious. The campaign is serious about going everywhere and talking to everyone and trying to increase his vote share, and that includes black voters. That's not all black voters. So in that respect, it makes sense. The thing is that the Trump campaign and Trump, I've said a few times, are sort of separate. And once in a while they intersect, and once in a while they don't. And Donald Trump wanted to go, and Donald Trump is not going to be told what to say. And even if he is told what to say, if he doesn't want to say it, he won't. And so he's going to go and wing it. And so, I got to, like, the MAGA conservatives of social media are ecstatic that
they loved it.
Donald Trump went to NABJ and told 3 black women journalists that, Kamala Harris is Indian beforehand, and now she's suddenly black. Like, holy shit, did he say that?
Yeah.
At the same time, liberals are thrilled for the same reason. So we'll see whose theory of the case.
We'll see whose theory holds up in the end. All right, Mark, thank you so much for the reporting. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to see your next target. We'll talk about that later. And thank you all for tuning in again to YouTube, the Bulwark YouTube channel. As always, please subscribe, please like, please share. That's what we need from you guys to sustain what we're trying to do here with Mark and others reporting. Thanks a bunch.